Yep, that's us. It's a brand new edition of
Perfect.
Bid Nerds, your daily nerd on the
Perfect.
most
Woo.
interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. Hello and welcome to the channel. If you are a nerd noob, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you checking out the show and checking out the channel, and hopefully you'll stick around because you like digging through all these auction sites. You're like my partner, Michael Deeb, over there. My name's John Polnik, by the way. And you're like us. You like digging through all these auctions and checking out the ads and hanging out on BaT and Cars and Bids and watching all the action, all the auction action. We do that as well. And we find the most interesting car from all the auction sites every single day, that one most interesting car. And it's usually not the most expensive car or maybe even the most rare car. It's usually the car that we think is going to kind of spark the most interesting conversation. We are often wrong about that as we are our bids. That's where the rubber hits the road on this show, is that we will go ahead and make a prediction, and then we will reconcile our predictions with the actual results at the end of the show. So make sure you stick around to the very end to see just how wrong we are. Play along with us. It's just like The Price is Right. You can put your own bid in the comments below and see if you're as good at it as we are, or better. Chances are you're going to be better at this than we are. Michael Deeb, hello. And what's that?
We better be right about this one.
Today's car is of particular interest, and we will get to that in a moment. But first, Deeb, how about you talk about our friends at God and Porsche?
Ooh, God and Porsche. Take a look right here. See what it says, God and Porsche? That's the spelling. Look it up. And then call our friends at God and Porsche. They are the very first Porsche Classic partner in North America. They have the experts in the shop and in the parts department to find the correct sourced original parts for your Porsche, no matter what year it is. Porsche makes the Originale catalog, a catalog of something like 60,000 parts made by their original manufacturers for every Porsche that's ever been made. Call our friends at God and Porsche. They will help you find the parts for your car. Let them know the Bid Nerd sent you.
All right. Well, today's car is of particular interest to your at least 50% of your Bid Nerd hosts.
Yes.
One of them has far more interest in this car than generally we do for any car. Michael Deeb, why don't you tell everyone about your car that you are actually putting on Bring a Trailer? You are putting your money where your mouth is. You're doing it.
Yes, absolutely. So check it out, JP. On Bring a Trailer is my 1986 Mercedes Benz 190E 2.3 16 valve, the Cosworth engine car. John, I don't know if you can see this where you're looking, but if you go up to the top corner of the page you're on, it says Bring a Trailer and it says 100,000. That means that Bring a Trailer has listed their 100,000th car. And if you go all the way to the top left corner, I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of under our little filter thing there. But as you go to find that, they have a new logo with the 100,000 on it. But if you go down to the little gray box next to my car is lot number 99,998.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, and it's not that I would have gotten it. They're auctioning off the 100,000th car is a 240Z that they're auctioning off for charity. It's a car that Bring a Trailer has owned, and it's been in their offices here in San Francisco for like 4 years. So it's a really cool 240Z, and now they're going to give it away and give the money to charity as part of their, commemorating their 100,000th lot. But my little Cosworth is just 2 away from that car, which I thought was pretty cool. So JP, I bought this car off of P-Car Market a couple of years ago, kind of like right when we started doing the show, because as such, as we were doing the show in 2020 during the quote unquote shelter in place, I spent a lot of time scouring through all the auction lots, and I saw this on P-Car Market for sale on the East Coast with at the time 70 something thousand miles, and it looked to be in really nice original condition. So I bought the car, and I've put I think I can't remember now, like 2,500 miles of my own on it. I think I bought it with 77,000 miles, and now it's got 80,000 miles. So I put about 20,000 miles on the car, and it's been a good car. It's really, really clean. It cleaned up really well. We took the clay bar to it in time to get the photos done by a BaT um, um, endorsed photographer who happens to live just a couple of blocks away from my restaurant in San Francisco. Shout out to Robbie Gomez. He's a really good photographer. If you ever get to meet the guy, he's worth hanging out with. A super nice guy and did a very nice job photographing the car. Um, Cosworths are just fantastic, JP. You know, they've got that Get Drag dog leg 5-speed. Cosworth, which is a British company, did the head for these cars, the 16 valve head. And, you know, they don't make a ton of power, 165 horsepower and similar torque, like 165 pound-foot of torque. But they rev and they get out of their own way. And the cars are really fun to drive. They're super engaging. My car is bone stock down to the headlights, and it still has its original self-leveling rear suspension. A lot of times people that own these cars, if that hydraulic pump fails, Mercedes still doesn't make, they don't continue to make the parts for those cars to repair the system and get it back on the road. So essentially one day this system will fail and the guy's going to take it off the car and throw it in the garbage and just put aftermarket suspension on these cars, which is not a bad thing to do, but I do think there's a value in the cars that are still original, still the way Mercedes made them back in 1986. So Mercedes only brought the car for 2 years, 86 and 87. They came in 2 colorways. This is the blue, black, pearl. The other color is also attractive. It's a champagne color. My partner has been on record saying he doesn't like gold cars, but the smoke silver is an attractive colorway. I've owned 2 of these previously, John, and one of them was the smoke silver. I used to drive a champagne car, which I'm sure pissed you off. But this is the first time I've owned a 16 valve where it wasn't my daily driver. And as such, even though I've only put 2,500 miles on the car, I feel like I've taken pretty good care of the car. It's got brand new tires, fresh service, everything works. I had to replace the aerial antenna, but everything on the car is as it should be. And I think it's going to do pretty well here. John, I have a question for you that I want you to answer, and then I'm curious to know what the viewers think. 5 different people in the comments, and one of them has even reached out to me personally, you know, where it says contact seller. And they're all upset that my lot does not disclose the amount of the lien I had. When I bought the car, I wasn't really working. And so as such, I didn't want to spend my own money. I borrowed money to buy the car. And so as the listing goes, it says there's a lien on the car. And a bunch of people in the comments are like, I'm sorry, did I miss it? What's the amount that's owed on the car? My knee-jerk reaction to that question is, why does it matter? It has nothing to do with how the transaction, you know, like what the value of the car is. And yet all these people have commented. The last commenter, just before we went live this morning, the last commenter, a guy named 911 Rossi, says, why is everyone so triggered about knowing the loan lien amount? It doesn't impact what the car is worth, and it's cleared as part of the sale process. And I was like, finally, somebody vindicated me, because I haven't answered anybody that's asking about the lien. I've gone on and commented on all the other stuff about, is there oil leaks, and do you know anything about it had an impact, you know, and there's on its Carfax history, and what services are done, what would it need if you spent any money on it, this, that, and the other. I've answered all the questions, but not the lien. And then somebody else, ACD683, says, who cares about the lien amount? I'm sure the reserve will cover it, which is true. What I owe is less than the reserve, and the reserve is only $30,000. It's really low for the car, I think. But I'm asking you, because you have arguably more experience buying and selling cars on the auction platforms than I do. Do I need to disclose the lien to these people? And why does anybody give it? Bratz asked. Am I missing something?
That is weird, man. I don't know why anyone would think that they're entitled to that information. If you're that person, you're an asshole. I don't like swearing on my show, but you're a dick.
Let me read you one more. This guy says, yes, how much is owed on the lien? Pretty ridiculous that the posting doesn't list how much is owed. ... And that's his whole comment. And I'm like, what?
In all the years I've been watching these, I've never really seen anyone disclose how much. I mean, honestly, if anything, look, you don't put what the reserve is out there, right? Because that's private information. If you disclose how much the is owed on the loan, someone could extrapolate from that number what you paid for it. And that's also not a number that anyone in a conversation would ask. Like, no one would ask you, or if they did, I think it's bad faith for someone to go, well, how much did you pay for it? Well, that's a dick thing to ask, right? You don't ask someone how much they paid for the car. And the thing is, I do know lots of people that do that, and I always try to bust their balls when they do that. Well, Chef, our friend Chef Williams, one of my best friends, right? Chef, I love you. You're the greatest. But whenever I buy a car, it's like, how much you buy for it? How much did you pay for it? I'm like, go fuck yourself is how much I paid for it. Sorry, I'm dropping all kinds of...
In his defense, he's an open book. He'll tell you everything. Right. So he has no filter for asking questions like that. So when Chef does it, it's innocently done. It's not like some creep. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because then there's other people that will ask, and there's the owner of a shop in town that drives me nuts when he does this. How much you pay for it? And then you're being judged. It's like, screw you. You don't... Get out of here. So anyway, and they'll ask you how much you sold stuff for, whatever. Just screw you. Get out of here. Who cares? It's not your business how much I paid for something or how much I sold something for. And for someone to ask how much you owe on the loan, that just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Are they concerned that you're not going to pay it off before they get the car? That's just dumb. That's dumb.
This car was offered by a dealer, a guy who sells Land Rovers, like crazy Land Rovers and old Mercedes in Massachusetts. And he listed the car for close to $50,000. And I called on it and talked to him about it. And they just wanted a lot for the car. And I was like, well, I'm not interested at that price. Then I saw the car, their actual car, on P-Car Market. And I followed the auction and I followed it when it closed. And I was bidding on it almost as a joke. And I wound up accidentally buying the car because they closed and then it met reserve, which was nowhere near what they were asking for the car. And when my wife came home, I had to explain to her that I accidentally bought a car. I thought she was going to murder me. It's also part of the reason why I sold Ruby, because I had bought this car thinking, oh, how cute, a four-door and we're having a baby. I'll put a Recaro baby seat in the back. So I really painted myself into a corner and I sold Ruby because I had bought this. I had to stand on my assholeness, you know what I mean? So I did not mention when I listed this on BaT that I bought the car off P-Car Market, because as such, you could go find out what I paid for it. And what I paid for it, I actually think I ripped it. So I'm hoping that I get a true retail value for the car, a value that's congruent with what the dealer in Massachusetts had originally wanted for the car. Shout out to Copley Motors. They sourced the car out of a collection in the Midwest and got a couple of cars from this collector and retailed them. And I was happy to buy this car, and it's a good car. So I hope it does well. But if somebody's really savvy, they could take the VIN and run it and probably find that it's sold on a different platform and find exactly what I paid for it the day I bought it. But I don't feel like I owe anybody an explanation as to what I owe on the lien. That question seems ridiculous. And finally, after 2 days, 2 people have come out, the most recent comments, and saying it's not relevant. And I feel vindicated without having to defend myself. So thank you, BaT community, for saving my bacon.
Sorry, I didn't know it was live already. I would have done that too. I'm going to call out Nunzio86 is the jerk.
Exactly.
Nunzio86, you're a jerk. You're an asshole. No one
but there's
likes
a bunch.
You. You're the person at the party no one wants to talk to, and the 4 people that gave you thumbs up, you guys can all just circle jerk yourself in the men's room at any party that no one wants to talk to you at. I'm triggered that there's people. This boggles my mind. I don't get it. Why anyone would care? And yes, I will definitely be commenting. I wish this video would go live before the auction ended, because I'd love to leverage the Nerd Nation to go make fun of these idiots.
Well, and there's something to that. If we start doing the things live, that the nerd herd will then start to comment on these things going, oh, the Bid Nerds covered this car and we're not marketing ourselves. Maybe the nerd herd will just take care of it for us and it'll bring more viewers to the channel. So we'll see how we can make that work, because the herd is strong, man. The herd has spoken.
It's true. This is, so I just, my opinion of the car, everyone, Michael Deeb is not.
You've driven it.
Look, and for everyone knows, I don't actually like Michael Deeb, so it's not like I'm like propping up my buddy's listing or anything like that. I think he's a jerk, and I don't really like hanging out with him, but I will say his car is as awesome as he says it is. It really, really is beautiful. It's the nicest one I've seen. Look, we talked about that 924 the
Yeah,
other day.
yeah, that car was great.
924 turbo that's just immaculate, right? You never see them in immaculate condition. 190s are kind of like that. It's so rare to see one that's really nice because they were cheap for so long that people just destroyed them. And I never got the chance to drive one when they were still new and nice. All the 190 Cosworths I've ever driven have been total buckets. So, when you were kind enough to let me drive yours, I was like, oh my God, this thing is so cool. The only thing I could say is that those bolsters on the seat don't do anything. You just slide around. I was going to mention that.
I was gonna say, tell everybody what you didn't like about the car. Do you remember it? Of course, you said it.
They got the springs in them. They're just like all
Recaro,
cushy. It's like, woo.
Recaro made those seats, but they're basically flat. They look like they have bolsters, but they offer no lateral support. So going back to what I said earlier, that buying this car literally almost on accident led to me having to sell my 84 wide body turbo look Ruby car. Ruby had sports seats. They had the Recaro sports seats. And Esther, my wife, is petite. She weighs like 110 pounds. She fit in those seats perfectly. I didn't. I'm so girthy that I didn't fit in my own sports seats on my Porsche. But Esther could sit when we did rallies and the Professor Run and all this crazy driving we would do. And she could have her hands on her phone and not have to hold on to the armrest or the door handle or anything. The bolsters held her hips, where even if I drove like an asshole, she never slid around in the car. And the first thing you complained about was like, yeah, this car is really nice and it drives really well. I hate these seats. My wife, when she got in the Mercedes and I drove her around, I went through the first turn and she flew into the door and like hit her head on the side window. And she looked at me with this look of like, how could you? How could you? She goes, why do you drive this grandpa car? And she made so fun of it. And so I knew the car was DOA. I shouldn't have bought it in the first place because I didn't ask her permission. And then I get the car and I'm like, look, I'll sell my Porsche and we'll keep this car and put a baby seat in the back because we're going to have a family. And I took her for the first turn and she hated it because she hates the seats, which is exactly what my partner said. And I was like, oh man, I'm ruined. So it's taken me 2 years to get to this point, JP. I'm finally selling my Benz and I'll probably wind up with another turbo look. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So JP, my lot closes in about 5 days from now. And I'm happy to report that in just a couple of days, my car is already up to $20,000 on 5 bids. I'm not going to pull a Polnik and not give you a bid. I'm going to tell you that I really think, because again, when I first looked at this car, it was listed for like $48,000. And that might have been a little ambitious, especially in 2020 when the market was just before it kind of took off. But according to Haggerty, not Concourse, but the next level down says that this car is worth about $44,000. And I'll tell you this, if this car makes $44,000, I'll be a pretty happy nerd. So I'm going to give you my bid at Haggerty's bid, $44,000. I'm giving you a take, but I'm not really being, ultimately, let's not be foolish here. I would love for this car to sell for 50 grand. But I'll be happy if it makes reserve. So $44,000 is going to be my bid. I'm hopeful because, it's not football season, even though I have a weekend close. Robbie took some pretty good photos, and the Bid Nerds covered it, which is always that love. So let's go 44 grand, and I'll send it to you. I know you're going to take the under. Don't worry about taking the over for me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I already know how you feel about me.
Bid with confidence, guys. If this is the kind of car, if you're looking for one of these, this is about as nice as they come. We had a conversation on our friend's channel, the DWA Driving While Awesome podcast. We talked about whether or not you should or shouldn't have coilovers on it or not and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, the originality of this car, I think really for the person that wants one of these, they will find the car that they're looking for there. Your miles, what are the miles on it? Like 60,000?
80,000.
Oh, it's 80,000 miles, right? But you've done so much maintenance on it. I know that you've spent some coin on bringing this car up to par. I mean, these things are really reliable too. I mean, I don't think you're going to be in any situation where you buy this car and you're going to need to do anything to it for a long time. You can buy this thing and drive it, and this thing's a driver's
brand
car,
new tires,
but it looks like a collector car. Yeah, it's really nice. I don't know. 44 seems, that would be great. And if that's what Haggerty says, that's good news. I'm concerned that the miles might be a little bit higher for it to maybe reach that. So I'm going to park right under you and say, I think it's going to be somewhere in that 40 to 45 kind of range. So it's hard to bid against this thing. I don't think you're going to have any problem reaching your reserve. And I'd love to see you make some money on it. So so I'm going to say 42. I'll park a little bit under you. All right, cool. And hope that it gets there.
You remember Warren from Radwood DWA? Warren wanted to buy this
Dirty Fink, Warren, yeah.
And I was gonna I sent him all the information, and then he called me back, and he goes,
what he did.
Warren, he called me back. He called me back, and he found a Dakar yellow E36 M3, and we know Warren is a BMW guy. He loves the brand. He's got an E30, and that he found himself an E36 M3, and he goes, "I'm gonna buy this car." He goes, "I'm so sorry." He goes, "I would have bought your car if I was buying another car or if I didn't find this E36." And I was like, all right, no. But when you and I went down to do the podcast, his E36 was up on a lift and they were working on it. And apparently, and I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but he's had to put a little more into his E36 than he thought he was going to. And he looked at me and he kind of gave me one of those candid, "I should have bought your car." And I was like, I wish you would have, because it would have been great to keep it in the family. So Warren, if my car only makes reserve, maybe you dodged a bullet. But if either one of the nerds are right, if we get a Yahtzee, eat your heart out, buddy. Okay.
For sure. All right, everybody. What do you think of Michael Deeb's Cosworth 190E Mercedes? Is this something that you would put in the garage? Have you always wanted one of these? Have you ever driven one with that dog leg 5-speed where you got to pull it towards you for first gear instead of away?
Great
That's
box.
Always kind of fun. Yeah. Great time to drive. These are just so much fun. Michael Deeb, I wish you all the luck. And nerds out there, support the auction. Let's find out what happens with Michael's Mercedes right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that gonna be for sale?
It is gonna be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas.
If you love watching car videos on YouTube, you gotta check out my channel, The Rami Show. Oh, this car! I am driving a 2020 Lamborghini SVJ. This car, watch this. Oh! 115 mile an hour turn, like it's nothing.
Like it's nothing, he says. Well, look at this. We are more than nothing. In fact, we're more than just two yahoos. We've got a third nerd. Welcome, Navid. How are you, sir?
Doing well, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks to both of you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Deeb, why don't you tell everyone who the heck this guy is? He's more famous than we are. Probably everyone knows, but
Eat with Navid on Instagram. Navid is one of my favorite people. Navid is a fantastic driver, knows a ton of people in the car scene, and shows up to everything. Navid would, if you invited him, Navid would show up to the opening of an envelope. And
is that a compliment?
Yeah.
Well, one of those offhanded ones like we do on Bid Nerds.
I'm going to take it as a compliment.
Do it.
Yeah. Navid writes and shoots for Petrolicious, Type 7. I think he's working with Marked now. And what's the other one I keep forgetting that's on the top of your Instagram?
Speed Hunters.
Speed Hunters, that's the one. I keep forgetting Speed Hunters. So look for Navid on any of those forums, and then hopefully he'll be a regular guest on the Bid Nerds. So you'll be able to find him here. His best content he saves for us. Did you notice he's wearing a Luft 8 shirt?
I did. He's rocking it. You ready for Luft 9?
Yeah.
I am, and it's at my home turf this time, so I'm stoked.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think of them having gone woke? They're letting trans axle cars identify as air-cooled cars. How do you feel about that?
I don't know, man. They are also doing a 2-day thing now where it's like one day is water cooled stuff. So I'm like, now
feels
it
a little
seems like
shark
you guys are
jumpy,
just,
huh?
Yeah, it's being milked a little too much, I think, but we'll see. I mean,
we're
gonna
have a good time anyway, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna love it. I love what they're doing. I love the concept. I love the idea. So I'm all for it.
Navid, Professor's going to do a run on Friday. A rumor has it at Easy that you might be planning your own drive.
Yes, sir. So hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, I'm going to try to get some people together on that Friday before, because I think the shows are going to be on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm going to try to get something together for people on Friday. Just stay tuned.
Why don't we merge the two?
Yeah. Do you want to just come with Ben and do something? Something to think
we
about.
Totally can.
Yeah.
No. We absolutely totally can. I'm all for it. I love the professor. I love what he's doing, and also I know like I have great routes here, so I would love to get him on the routes that I usually take.
All right. Well, let's. Maybe we'll put you guys together and talk. But anyways, I can't wait to talk about this result, JP.
All right, we are in the future, and everyone's kind of waiting around to find out the results of this car. What happened with the result of this particular car, Michael Deeb?
So we're talking about is a 1986 Mercedes Benz 190E 2.316 on Bring a Trailer. John, I was very ambitious and said $44,000. The car only has 80,000 original miles and was located in San Francisco, California, Navid. I said $44,000 to bring this car home. John said $42,000. This car was involved in a small incident, and so there's like a little thing on the Carfax about a front-end collision that was minor in its early history. So 44 by me, 42 by JP. Navid, I know you know these cars. What do you think this car might have gone for on Bring a Trailer?
Hold on. Time out. Wait a second. Yeah. You're not mentioning the most important.
No, leave it.
You want me to leave that?
Yeah.
All right, fine, Navid. Go ahead and make a guess.
Navid, what do you think this car might have sold for?
I'm gonna say 45. That's like
I love you, Navid. I love you. That's fantastic.
Where I'm at.
Our car, or I should say my car, sold for $39,300 on
this was Deeb's car.
Yeah, it's my car. My personal car.
It's funny. I was literally going to ask, wait, this looks just like yours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's my car. So, there we go. First of all, quick shout out to JP and his wife, Rochelle, who called me right before the auction started to close and held my hand through the process. John was instrumental in making sure I didn't eat the dashboard of the car I was in, because I was, you get a little nerve wracking when it's your own car. Navid, I know you do this on the reg for your clients, helping them sell their cars, but I know you've sold your own cars, and you got to tell me, it does feel different when it's your own car and you're waiting to see if that next bid comes. Is that fair to say, or do you just get tired of it and it just gets old and it's easy to do?
I would definitely say that the anxiety is much worse when it's your own car, because you're like, you definitely don't want it. I don't know. It's different. I've gotten lucky the last 2 times where I've sold my own car. It hit reserve before it even was time to actually.
Nice. Nice.
Before the last 5 minutes of the auction. So at that point, it's just like, fingers crossed. Let me try to make as much money as I can, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, so John and Rochelle are on the phone with me on speaker, and I get to about $1,500 within my reserve, and it's at the 3-minute mark. It's just before the clock starts to reset, and John says, "Pull the reserve," and I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Pull the reserve," and the only thing I could think of was listen to your friend, and so I yanked the reserve, and then it went right by the reserve, my old reserve, and on up to $39,300. But from that moment on, the car was sold in my mind, and I could relax and enjoy it. And so we just, we watched the bids for 25 minutes, and it was really fun to do. But he helped me get over the hump and alleviate what would have been 10 minutes of pure chaotic anxiety for me personally by pulling the reserve. And so it was great. So John, Rochelle, thank you both. It was really fun, and I'm happy the car sold. The new buyer is from Pakistan. He lives in LA, and he sounds like the sweetest, nicest person. I can't wait for him to get the car. Congratulations to him. And JP, you won this one, but I'm glad that the car is
I wish I didn't win this one. I was rooting for you. There was a specific reason. I mean, some people might be wondering why I told you to pull the reserve, because I feel like once you get within $1,500 of your reserve, it's like at that point you're gonna be second guessing. If it only made it, if it had one more bid and it didn't make reserve, you'd have been kind of ticked. You'd been like, oh man, for $1,000, now I got to go through the hassle of selling it some other way, either on classifieds or whatever. Now you're talking days, weeks, months, maybe. And I know that you had another car literally physically on the way. So it was like, dude, let it go. It's time to move on. It's close enough.
Great advice.
You know,
Great advice.
and if you had missed that opportunity, I think you would have been pissed. What do you think of that advice, Navid?
I think that's solid advice. I would definitely recommend it to anybody at any point. If you're off, even, I mean, depending on the price point of the car, but if you have a 100K car and you're about to lose the sale over $5,000, you're wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
Just sell the car.
Yeah. See, and Navid does this for his clients. What do you call it? Something consulting? Tell the herd.
Yeah. So I do a separate consulting, brokering kind of thing on the side by helping represent clients' cars for sale on any platform that they wish.
What's
and
the
it's
name?
called Collector Support. Collector Support.
Collector Support. Yeah, great name. And you have cars almost all the time, right? Like you almost always have a car live, don't you? Is that fair to say?
I try to have something up at least once or twice a month.
Yeah.
I'm also really picky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I try to pick stuff that I know is very sought after and a little bit more I would say inclined to sell, because sometimes people hit me up for things that are just a regular 190E. That's a little bit more difficult to sell. So
Navid, how do you what do you offer the sellers as a service, and how do you charge? I don't want to get I don't want to not asking you to reveal your secrets, but how, do you charge a flat fee or is it a percentage? How does that work?
Yeah,
it's a little bit
Social
of
security number.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's a little bit of a mix of both. So it kind of depends. I most of the time I try to get clients to let me handle everything front to back, because I have a detail guy that I trust. So I would be able to get the car detailed. I do all the production for the car, so all the photos, all the videos, all that stuff, and it's done in a way where it presents the car in an appropriate manner. I cannot tell you enough. I work with an auction house as my day job, and then I do this on the side. And I can tell you that working with the auction house on the day job side of things it's helped me learn how important it is to present the car correctly. I've seen so many auctions fail on a day-by-day cases because people do not know how to present their cars. And a lot of people don't see the value in hiring somebody for production. And literally what they're forgetting is you're selling a car online, and the only thing that people are able to see is the pictures and the photos. They can't see anything else. That is the key element of getting this car sold appropriately. So the most important part of what I do is that. But of course, I handle the detailing and I handle all the logistics, and I make sure that everybody's paid. I make sure all the paperwork is done correctly. I try to make it as seamless as possible. And I mean, if you guys look me up or if anybody looks me up on Bring a Trailer or anything like that, if you look up my name, it's at Collector Support. You'll see after every auction, most of the people who have bought cars from me leave me feedback saying, wow, this is one of the smoothest experiences I've ever had. So that's my goal, is I try to make it seamless for both the seller and the buyer.
John, it sounds like he's reciting pretty much everything you said in 2020 when we started doing the show, how important it was to have, decent copy, but incredible photos, and that the details matter, and to get everything right up front. That's fantastic. Great feedback, Navid. And we've covered a couple of your cars on the show, and I, of course, watch you because we're friends. I love what you're doing, so thank you for saying all that. It's pretty cool, because John's been saying that for 2 years to anybody to listen.
I appreciate that big time. It's also very important to, just one more side note, it's really important to have, if you're going to have anybody representing your car, make sure they know the car. Make sure they understand the technicalities of this stuff and are actually experts in that type of car, because every car has its different quirks and features. E46 M3s, big three needs to be done, and you need to be able to address stuff like that and how it's done and what parts were used and all that stuff. So anybody doing this stuff, make sure they know what they're talking about, and it's not just some random dealer.
Yeah, that's for sure. What about platform? How do you, I always gripe on Doug DeMuro's site because it doesn't seem like there is any drive for aesthetic. There's no romance. And I feel like that presentation really has to have a certain amount of that. And it seems like Doug's site is really just whatever, take some pictures with your
dumpster in the background.
Yeah, with a dumpster in the background. Yeah. They just don't seem to care, whereas BaT seems to care a little bit, and PCAR, they'll sell anything. What's your opinion of the top three there? Or do you have one?
I definitely have. I mean, I have different opinions on different things. So from an experience standpoint, I will say that hands down, I've had the best experience with Cars and Bids. Their customer service team
We've heard
is
that.
super. They're like way on top of their stuff, to the point where like a week after the auction ends, they hit you up and they're like, hey, like, what do you need help with? We can help you with paperwork. We can help you with logistics. We can help you with whatever you need us for. We're right here. They respond immediately, almost like I get same day responses, all that stuff. And I will say that after him getting this additional round of funding, things are starting to change on that website to be a little bit more romantic and a little bit more, collector focused and not necessarily just nerdy enthusiast focused. But I will say that from a curation perspective, I do think that Bring a Trailer does a little bit better in terms of, their front homepage and like getting those homepage banner placements, and also the way that they write their copy and the way that they present the copy, and forcing owners to like, make sure they document everything, and like all that stuff kind of ties in together to help sell the car. They want to sell cars. So and their service has been good too. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't been bad or anything like that. It's just they're a little less customer service focused and a little bit more making sure that the presentation is better. So it depends on what side of that you want to go to. But also, I will say that most of the stuff I sell are Porsches. Porsches do significantly better on Bring a Trailer than they do on Cars and Bids. But I did just sell my E46 M3 on Cars and Bids, and I did really well. So it can go both ways. P-Car Market, though, I don't want to say anything super negative, but I have not had the best experiences with them. I've dealt with them on 4 separate occasions. I bought my GT3 off of P-Car Market. Every single experience I've had has had some sort of hiccup or problem. So not a fan.
Yeah, if you've watched any episodes of our show, you definitely know that we are in agreement there.
It's amazing, though. It's an incredible endorsement, Navid. Everything you said is congruent with everything we've preached on the show, and we've been doing the show for 3 years now. So it's just amazing to listen to you, because you're on the front line doing this, and we're on the sideline reporting on everything that we see, and everything that you've experienced is exactly what we've told people would happen, because they are who they are out there, and P-Car Market can't help themselves. They're car dealers, they bring a car dealer mentality to the thing. Doug DeMiro is a podcaster, so he's a talking head who's now getting involved from a passion and financial opportunity standpoint. And BaT is owned by a media conglomerate, Hearst Media. So they're whores now, and they pull down their pants and they're letting anybody in. So it's really interesting. Yeah, fascinating stuff.
Well, what do you guys think of that? Do you guys think that that there's no difference between any of the platforms? Do you care? Have you sold a car on all these platforms? And what have your experiences been out there? We'd sure love to hear some people talk about how they've done on different sites. Deeb wants to hop in before we close it up.
Yeah. Has anybody in the herd ever heard or talked to somebody who had a good experience with P-Car Market?
We could do a whole episode on that. Navid, thanks for hanging out with us. Are you going to come back? You going to do this again? Or are you like, these guys are yahoos?
Hell yeah. I'll be here anytime, man.
There it is, guys. Sweet. See you tomorrow.